What's up, guys? It's your boy Ty. Today, we are starting a brand new series that I'm very excited to share with you. It's going to be called MCU Reviewed. What does that mean? What are we going to be doing? We're going to be going one by one through each MCU movie in release date order, and we're going to be reviewing them, and we're going to be doing a live ranking, meaning that we're going to be going through each movie, and the further we go along, we're going to be trying to place these movies where, I feel like they rightfully deserve to be, but not just like all at once, just like I said, as we're going through. So since today's the first movie, it's going to be just by itself, but then you'll see with the second movie, we can just compare those two, you know what I mean? So we're just going to be going along until we catch up. Then, as new MCU movies release, I'll continue the series. Like I was saying about the new MCU movies, the reason I'm going in release date order instead of chronological order is that as new movies come out, once we actually catch up to the new releases, the thing is, I don't know if they're going to stay in chronological order. Like, if we have a movie that's a kind of a flashback to somewhere in the MCU timeline, then that means that the series is going to unfortunately be out of order. So we're just going to do a release date just so that things are a little bit easier. With that being said, let's just get right into this review. The movie that we're going to be talking about today came out in May of 2008, our first MCU movie, and that movie is Iron Man. Just to give you guys a little bit of context on my personal perspective of this movie, I've been using Letterboxd about 2.5 years, and within those 2.5 years, I've seen this movie 3 times. So I've had 3 watches, including the fresh watch I just had just the other day in preparation for this video. So you guys have like a better idea of, how many times I've seen it, how much experience I personally have with it. Also, besides the fresh watch, my most recent watch was August of 2022. So it was less than a year ago. So that's honestly not that bad because you'll see as we start getting into these other MCU movies, yeah, I'm going to be watching them fresh for the review. But some of these I really haven't seen in a while. So it'll kind of, give you a better understanding of where I'm at with them. So, Iron Man. Let's just get right into it. Before we even talk about the details about the actual movie, there was a lot of things that went on before this. First of all, there was a ton of pre-production issues. Jon Favreau just trying to figure his stuff out. Marvel took a huge risk making this movie. A huge financial risk, especially because, these are blockbuster movies, and who knew if Iron Man, a character from the comics, would stick and people would want to actually go to the theaters to see him. But also, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to slander him, but something along the lines of Robert Downey Jr. just came out of like rehab or something like that. So he was kind of risky to cast as, Tony Stark, the great hero that he is. But obviously, years down the line, we can confidently say that paid off 1,000 times over. It was a tenfold investment. They got their money's worth 1,000 times back. Now, getting into just my general idea of the movie. Guys, I'm going to spoil it for you. I love this movie. This is a great MCU movie, and they started off on such a high note. There's so many things. The characters, the simplistic yet great story, the villain. It's just so beautiful to see how far we've come in the MCU, but also just to be able to look back and say, wow, this was such a great way to kick things off. How can we talk about this movie without just starting off especially with our main hero, the guy who the movie is named after, Iron Man himself, Tony Stark. What an interesting character. Tony Stark, he's witty. He has this weird sense of humor. He's energetic. His screen presence is so strong and powerful. He steals every scene he's in, and you just want more and more of him whenever he's on that screen getting screen time. You just love him. I understand that, he's flawed. He's a very flawed character, but that's what makes him interesting. If he didn't have flaws, and these flaws are very obvious, you wouldn't, care as much about him. He is kind of mean. He comes off kind of harsh. He can be brutally honest. And that's the side of things where he's kind of like an unlikable but redeemable character. And through those cracks where you could kind of see where he's redeemable, you could tell that he cares about the people that surround him and, who he actually loves. See, I understand that there's like these all-time great acting performances, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, these MCU acting performances are like the greatest of all time compared to like Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, all those type of things. But Robert Downey Jr. has just such a unique, incredible performance. I don't even look at this movie and say that's Robert Downey Jr. In my head, that's just Tony Stark. Even when I see his picture of him, just on Instagram, whatever, I'm like, oh, Tony Stark. Wait, no, Robert Downey Jr. It's just who he is. That's how well he played this character. The iconic look everything about him was just so great. Also, this suit, like the way it's designed, looks amazing, and they really did a great job on like their first go around with this. Almost reminds me of, some things like maybe Lord of the Rings, where their casting was just so great that then in your second and third movie, you're kind of just carrying on that greatness into the following sequels. So, getting on with the story of this movie. The story, like I said, is somewhat simplistic. It doesn't, go into, oh my god, someone's trying to blow up the whole world, someone's gonna destroy the whole universe, some alien is coming to kill everybody. No. It's kind of almost like a political conflict in the sense of who's going to run this company. Almost like, I haven't seen it, but like Succession. Finale's actually tonight at the time I'm recording this. It's just a more interesting story because I feel like we don't have the pressure of the MCU on this Iron Man movie. The MCU wasn't even a thing. So they just got to take a step back, breathe, and just say, we're just going to make this a nice, straightforward story. And straightforward it is. And that's the reason it's so great. They don't have to go crazy with any side quests and this and that. No, it's very straightforward. Let's just move on to the side characters. So, we have Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts is great. I really like her. I think she's pretty underrated because, she's the love of our main hero, Tony Stark. They have great screen presence together. I love their chemistry, and they're a very believable couple, which I think is very important. Sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, that's just actor A and actor B, and they're just together, I guess, but they really feel like a couple, and it's like I said, it's easy to believe that they care about each other. We have none other than one and done Terrence Howard himself playing Roadie. Roadie's a pretty good character. I think that he was introduced well. You can tell that he cares about Tony and cares about his well-being. He's always there for him. Like I said, with the one and done thing, he was recast as Don Cheadle, which I think is a little bit better casting anyways, but nothing's funnier than when he looks at the suit at the end of the movie and he just goes, next time, baby. He never got that next time, so kind of sucks to suck, but yeah, he was pretty good in this, and I just like the way he supports Tony, like I was saying. People forget about the unsung hero of the MCU, someone that inspired Tony Stark, Yinsen. He's the person that saved Tony Stark while he was in the cave. He kind of made like the, I guess you could say prototype arc reactor type of thing to keep the shrapnel from going into his heart. Man, he was just such a lovable character. Even though he was only on screen for probably, maybe 20 minutes at best, he really just packed an emotional punch. The whole thing about his family, he's told Tony while they're in the cave together, oh, I have a family. Then he basically kind of, we'll just give him his credit. He sacrifices himself for Tony. Then when Tony's like, come on, we're going to save you, he says, no, my family's dead. I'm going to see them now. So he sacrificed himself because he knew that even if he died, first of all, he'd be saving Tony. Second of all, he'd be seeing his family. And that's just such a wholesome thing, and you just feel so bad, but it's kind of bittersweet in a way. That's the best way I could describe it. And one thing he says to Tony is, don't waste your life. That completely changed the way, the MCU went on from this point. I don't think it's appreciated enough how much this movie sets up Tony's character arc. I know that everyone always says, oh wow, he had such a great arc and it was concluded so well. But to conclude a character arc really well, you have to set it up nicely. The thing is, in this movie you have the I am Iron Man moment. The moment where he tells the world, you know what? He embraces who he is. He's Iron Man. He's the one that's saving people. He is a hero. You really gotta appreciate Jon Favreau for putting in these little great pieces of dialogue. Speaking of the dialogue, I feel like it's very tight. Like there's not really too much fat in this. I feel like everything has its purpose, and I could really appreciate that because I feel like sometimes movies kind of just like wander and they linger or whatever. But this, every line is like quick, quick, quick. It's really great. How could I finish this review without talking about the great Obadiastine? You want to talk about an amazing villain that just fits so well into this narrative? This is the thing. Obadiastine isn't just a villain initially. I love the way this movie slow rolls, his progression throughout this film. So, we start with him having a personal tie to Tony Stark. That is something that makes a villain so much more unique, and you care about the villain more in like a hateful way because their conflict is personal. They know each other. They have a relationship. They're clashing because of that reason. So, Obadiastine tells Tony, you know what, let me demonstrate. So he whispers in his ear, who do you think locked you out of the company? And see, at that very moment, we realize, oh, he's the antagonist. I don't think he's necessarily a villain. He's just the antagonist. He's going against our protagonist. He's the antagonist. But then I'm pretty sure just a couple minutes later in the movie, we find out from Pepper that, oh, he put a hit on Tony Stark to be killed by the Ten Rings. He was kidnapped by this organization, and then they were going to kill him. He paid for him to be killed. That makes him the villain. That just bumps it up another level. Then we find out that he's making his own suit, and then he personally goes after Tony, and then they actually physically fight in 2 suits at the end. Now he's taking it another step because he's like, oh, I tried to kill you once. Nope, I'm going to try to kill you again myself. That progression is really impressive to me, and I feel like I don't really see that in a lot of movies today. It's always just like, oh, this is the villain, you know? But instead, we kind of get a little bit of like bait and switch action where it's like all the attention, you know, they're kind of dangling the keys right here. They're like, hey, look, the villain is the Ten Rings, the terrorist organization. Meanwhile, over here, they're doing a trick, and they're like, nope, it's actually Obadiastine. I think that's great. It's not like the craziest twist ever. I'm just saying the way that it is, the way that it's paced throughout the story is really impressive. Jon Favreau did a great job keeping a very tight script that really just worked overall. Listen, I know I'm trying to use all this cool film terminology, but we just gotta talk about the badass moments in this straight up. The part where Tony's in the cave, escaping it, I mean, God, it's so great. It's just so nostalgic to me, and I know that you shouldn't let nostalgia, like, really try to, like, pull on you and make you, like, think of something more positively, but it just gets me, man. It's such a cool scene. The first time seeing him really build that suit. Also, how can we forget the iconic tank scene? My man, you know, the tank's over there, shoots a rocket at him, misses, then pulls up his rocket, shoots. Oh, it didn't explode. What happened? Bro, my man turns around, walks away, and that thing just explodes in the background. Like, are you kidding me? Is that not I'm sorry, I almost just knocked you over. Is that not crazy? What an iconic shot. Just such a great feeling moment. I mean, God, I can't even explain it. Even the final battle, man. Great. And then on more of like a grounded level, we have the scene where Pepper's trying to hijack his computer and download the files. We have the scene where Obadiastine is, you know, he puts that thing up to Tony's ear that paralyzes him. There's a lot of really great moments in this. The thing is, there's a bunch of great scenes here, but they're not separate. They're all nicely connected, nicely transitioned, and when they're chopped up together, it just makes for such a great, enjoyable experience. And yeah, guys, I mean, I don't really know if I have that much more to say. Honestly, I love this movie. So, I think it's just time to get on to the ranking. Well, unfortunately, like I said, this is our first movie and our last movie. What does that mean? On our ranking, it's currently the best and the worst movie. Congratulations, I guess. But, what's my rating on this movie? I think I'm going to put this movie at a 9.3. Why a 9.3? Why not, you know, a 10? I'm just saying. I think some of the flaws this movie has is that maybe towards the second act, it just gets, I don't mind talking in movies. I don't mind, like, slower moments. I think it might just get a little bit talky. And, you know, like I said, it's kind of relatively small-scaled. I think there's maybe a little bit of plot armor with, like, Tony escaping the cave. But I do think it's, like, a really great moment. But it's just, you know, I mean, would that have really happened? No, but I get it. But, you know, I just don't think it's, like, you know, a 10. But it's still a great, I mean, that's a great score, you know what I mean? But, yeah, just those little things maybe add up, you know. But, yeah, overall, this is an amazing movie. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 1 of MCU Reviewed. I just hit 50 subscribers and 1,000 all-time channel views through just 8 videos. So, really, thank you so much for all the support. Please drop a like. Please subscribe. I want to hear your opinions, too. I don't think you guys realize this. Please comment your thoughts on this movie. If you hate it, I want to hear that. I'd love to have a nice, healthy conversation with you. At the end of the day, thank you guys. I love you guys. And I will see you in the next video.
Honestly, it's impossible.
Don't even worry about it, buddy. I know you're trying your hardest, and we love you so much here. By the way, you're actually getting a raise, so congratulations.